Welcome to Nerf&Turf. I'm Andrew, and on today's episode of Nerf&Turf, may the force be with you. So, as some of you may know, May the 4th was recently upon us, and as many of us should know, may the 4th be with you. So, as you know, it's not May the 4th currently, because I missed it. Because I'm a college student who had finals and I just got through all those. So now, I'm available to do the May the 4th edition of Blasters. Sorry about that. But here they are. So sadly, I only have 2 Star Wars blasters, but I wanted to talk about them and the whole idea of Hasbro working with Nerf on blasters. And it's a pretty neat idea, but let me talk to you about it. So what we have here is Captain Phasma's blaster from episodes 7 and 8. Now, a couple differences are in the movie. It is like a pure metal, aluminum looking thing, and obviously they couldn't do that with a Nerf rifle because then it would look like an actual assault rifle instead of the blaster rifle that it really is. So it's a very interesting blaster. Not my favorite, but it's a lot of fun to plink around with. So, it's a spring-powered blaster that's powered with a bolt-action style thing, where it's like this little flappy thing, and then, it's very flimsy plastic, so you don't want to do it too hard. But the really neat part of it is that it's a 5-dart drum, which feels like a smaller drum than usually you would find on a Nerf blaster. Now typically you would find 6-dart cylinders on a Nerf blaster, but this one is 5. And then it's got this little clip out here that you attach to the blaster when you get it, and it's like in the Star Wars world, the energy pack that you would add on to it. So that's what charges your blaster rifle. And so that's pretty cool. It's got a little scope that has no magnification whatsoever. The dials don't twist or anything, but it looks really sweet. And yes, it makes the sounds, it lights up, but the real party piece of this blaster is that the Star Wars darts they sell it with are glow in the dark. And so when you place them in and load it, this light glows them, so when you fire, it fires out green, which is pretty sweet. One of the problems I have with this blaster is that the only way to put a dart into the cylinder is they have a little divot built in right above right next to the cylinder, and then you push in there. That's the only way you can get a dart in. You can't cram it in here, or you can't see through on the other side because it's just the plastic, not the clear or open cutaway. So then you would have to rotate it, put another dart in here, rotate it, put another dart in, and then finally fire. And that's a little frustrating, but I get it because they had to condense all the light in there, and so when you put the glow-in-the-dark darts in there, they'll actually charge up and turn a color. And so that's really neat. So for a battle-effective blaster, no, it's not useful at all. But for a really sweet blaster that you're just messing around with in the dark, oh, it is loads of fun. I can't recommend it enough if you're into the just messing around in your house. If you want to be competitive with it, yeah, maybe not. The only problem is it is a Stormtrooper blaster, so you are going to miss a lot. And next up, I have another Star Wars blaster. This is from Rogue One. It's Jen Erso's blaster, although hers is orange, and then the guy's is the blue, but it usually has the attachments. This one didn't come with the attachments. And so, very similarly to the other one, when you pull the trigger, it makes a sound, it lights up, and it does kind of charge the darts to turn a color as it shoots out, and that's pretty cool. I really like the aesthetic of this blaster because it looks a lot like an M4, which is a firearm equivalent. It's a very thin profile, and the flywheels are evenly distributed. So it's not like an awkward shape like the Strife, where it's bigger on one side than the other because of the flywheel housing. And so that's really neat. And then it's got like a little bolt sled where you would have it on your M4. And so that's pretty fun. I like that about this blaster. So it is a magazine-fed blaster. It's similar setup to a Strife or a Modulus in how it has the rev trigger. And you hold that, it revs up, and then it shoots the dart out and pushes it through the flywheels. So it's electronic, semi-auto, and I mean, it works decently well. It's fun. You've got the sound effects going. The sound effects work even when there's not darts in the blaster. The biggest complaint, though, is that it doesn't fire well at all. The darts just kind of oop out the end of it, because the power supply in these blasters, which is right here in the foregrip, the AA's that are in there are powering both the lights and the sound as well as the flywheels, and it doesn't work because it's distributing the power so much so that the power put to the flywheels is much diminished compared to a Strife or a Desolator. I thought about modding it in a way that the lights and the LEDs would have a totally different power source than the flywheels. And so I've been trying to figure out how I can do that. And I know it's pretty easy, but I'm just trying to get the parts together for that. That way, I still like the lights and the sounds, but I could set it up so that there's a separate battery pack within the blaster so that could power just the lights and the sound, but then there would still be the normal amount of power going to the rev, because it just sounds so quiet. And as you can see, there's LEDs here, so it can also charge up those, and it just maybe goes 10-20 feet. It's really kind of pathetic as a competitive blaster. However, the aesthetic is fantastic. I feel like you could do a really sweet paint job with this because there's so many lines and there's so much contour that if you tried to weather it, it would just weather so nicely because they would catch the paint and that kind of thing. It's just a very sweet looking blaster. I really wish it fired better, but with a quick mod on this thing, it's awesome. But as a blaster for just running around your house and just making that noise, it's fantastic. My brother and I, we would run around. My brother and I would run around with these blasters even if there weren't darts in it and just go all Star Wars mode on ya. Also, something to point out about this blaster is that it does have a stock attachment and it does have a barrel attachment, because this blue blaster generally comes with a really cool stock and a really sweet suppressor looking thing. But this one didn't come with that. And so you can put your other parts on it, but it's just not going to look right because it's blue and there's not too many blue Nerf attachments that fit that. It's also got one tack rail here on the top, and so that's useful for your scopes and stuff for the 10 feet you're shooting. So all in all, for the purpose they serve, they are fantastic blasters. Alright, let's head to the range and pew pew pew. Alright, so we're going to start off with the Captain Phasma blaster. Again, it's a 5-dart cylinder, and I'll show you the reload just to show you how awkward and odd it is. But let's get started. So remember again, the bolt action right there. You know, that made it into my shed. Alright, and now to show the reload. So there's a little divot here. I'm going to put the dart in the divot and then rotate it. Rotate it. Rotate it. I should have one more. Alright. See how it does. So it's not terrible. I mean, it's honestly decently accurate, although the blaster doesn't really matter on the accuracy. It's more about the dart. But it is a fun blaster to mess around with, especially for an indoor war. It's totally fine. But if you're getting outdoors, it's not going to shoot much farther from me to my shed, which is probably 20-30 feet. And so if you need something with range, you're going to need to get another blaster. But if you're inside just messing around, it's perfect. Alright, next I've got the Gen Urso blaster. I'm just going to shoot off a 12-dart mag. We'll see how it goes. But just listen to the rev. It's kind of pathetic. So again, just similar to the other one. As an indoor blaster, it's probably fine. But if you're outdoors, it's not going to shoot any more than 30 feet. And in an outdoor war, you're generally always shooting more than 30 feet. Alright, so let's fire and see how it does. It's barely making it into the shed, but not much more than that. I don't know if you saw that there, but the more I pulled it, the more the darts just kind of fell out of it, and those made it maybe 10 feet. And so, performance, no, not so great. fun blaster though? Oh yeah. So my final opinion on these blasters is kind of mixed. As blasters for competitive nerfing, no, I wouldn't suggest them at all. However, blasters for a Star Wars fan, which I am, and as someone that just likes to mess around in the house and make sounds, it's brilliant. The biggest concern I have for them is their price. I believe this blaster, when I got it, was about $30, $40 for a 5-dart blaster. I mean, I feel like a strong arm's half the price of that. A lot better performance. However, this has the Star Wars label and the lights and sounds. That's why it costs so much, is that Star Wars label. And then this one is honestly about the same. I found them at various stores for various prices. I found them somewhere for 20 bucks and then another place for 30. And so it's kind of sad. You're mostly paying for the branding. That Star Wars logo on that blaster is really what gets it the price that it does. However, to a competitive nerfer who isn't willing to mod the blaster to make it any more effective, I don't know if I could recommend them, aside from just goofing around inside your house. Because if you're shooting them outside, they're just not going to go that far. And I don't mean to dog on these blasters and to say they're terrible, because that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying they serve a very specific purpose. For the Star Wars enthusiasts like me, it's fantastic, and I couldn't wait to get my hands on them. I didn't care how they performed. I just had fun with them. And for somebody that's a competitive nerfer, you're not going to care about it. You're not going to have the nostalgia or the, ooh, it's a Star Wars blaster type of feeling that I would have when I pick up the blaster. And so for them, it's not as useful. But for me, as a Star Wars enthusiast, I don't even plan on using those in a competitive Nerf war. I just enjoy having fun with them. Well, get on out there and nerf your turf and have a blessed day. Bye-bye.